Well, that felt like that was a whole different time warp here. Welcome, everybody, back to the Bi-Conics Review of Honor here on the Bi-Conics Wrestling Podcast channel. We are so glad to have you back with us, either if you've been here with us for quite a while or just joined, maybe at New Jersey Wrestle Show or other places. We're very happy you found us, and we hope that you are enjoying our content here. We have Jesse, we've got Andrew, we've got Mikey, we've got JVL. The entire crew is back and running at full steam, and we're here to bring you our opinions and our takes on all of the different things that are going on in Ring of Honor this week, episode 66 on Honor Club. Before I get to anything else, though, I want to say first, thank you for joining us. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel tonight, make sure you can get those alert bells so you can see all of our content all week long. You can also follow us on all the socials, see us on Twitch, see us on other places, all at BC WrestlePod. We do have a Patreon, which we hope will help to get us all to come together and meet more of our group, because small gatherings are great, but we need a bigger thing here. And, of course, we have a merch store with two different designs, our Bi-Conics logo and the Squatch Match. And, there's a third, Mikey. There's a third design?
Yes, and this has been... I've been given permission from the artist that commissioned the really cool Versus photo that they made, and that is now on a shirt and any other merch that you want to wear it on.
Perfect. I'm waiting for the zip-up hoodie. Anyhow, that's another place you can support us there as well. We had our first taste of being together in a physical room at New Jersey Wrestle Show. It was epic, to say the least. Sharing a murder basement with these two other fellows and missing out on Andrew was just, a highlight of our lives. But we're hoping that we can continue that trend as more pay-per-views come to the West Coast and people can get together. So please support the channel. And if nothing else, if you can't do anything monetarily or anything else, we would love for you to like our videos, share them around, and comment on them so we can always have that engagement and talk to you as well. All right, housekeeping is out of the way. It's been a minute, gentlemen, that all of us have been in the same room. It's been a minute that we've talked about ROH. I know I've missed quite a bit from the last bit there. I want to get your perspective. Was this going into it the way you thought that they should have started off after a couple weeks of kind of the leftovers from Daly's Place and the Canada trip?
I feel like this week's was kind of the inverse of last week, because last week started off really well and then kind of went downhill. This, minus the opening match, this did the reverse of that. It started, I was like, nah, I'm not crazy about this, and then it got better as it went on.
Interesting. Do you other two feel about that same way about this this one today? Ooh. Andrew, I think you're...
Okay, that's just too long of a pregnant pause. Not everyone in our group can be buffering when we're asking questions, okay?
I was not overly impressed by this week's Ring of Honor.
Interesting.
I'm on the same camp as Andrew, but my issues come from booking and storytelling when it comes to certain things that we're building. And for me, because I was fast forward to the future last night and saw everything that went down at the ROH tapings, it makes me even have any more questions. It's like the Jackie Chan dream. It's just like this the whole entire time. I'm like, oh no, where are we going with all of this? This is going to get buck wild.
For those that didn't know, Mikey went to the Collision tapings last night in Palm Springs and got a preview of probably what's going to air 2 weeks from now on ROH TV. So Mikey is already in on some secrets and probably will try not to spill them as much as he can, but he still might. We'll beg you. However, we start with a proving ground match. We bring on Athena, our women's champion, 50-0, getting to Goldberg levels of wins here, taking on Viva Van. Glad to see her back after her match against Abaddon in the television title tournament, and seeing Athena working against a legitimate powerhouse, which is a great way to think, because a lot of times she seems to be the stronger of the two in the ring. Gentlemen, it was a squash, but it was a women's squash, which means it was competitive. Did this live up to expectation for you, having a person who's been on ROH TV before taking on the champion and trying to last 10 minutes?
I was happy to see Viva Van back. I was very impressed by their work. It was a squash match. It didn't at any point feel like a proving ground match, and I'm comparing this to last week's proving ground match where they actually gave us time updates along it, and that really helped kind of pull me into the match. They didn't do that here, so it didn't feel like it was on the same caliber. It felt like a squash match.
Let me think. So, I don't want to spoil anything,
So just talk about the match.
Well, here's the thing, because I got spoiled on this match like 2 or 3 weeks ago, but not more so like who Athena was facing. But I've known for the last 3 weeks that Athena was not looking great by the end of the match. And as we saw, she was starting to limp a little bit. But Tony Khan cleared it up during the Double or Nothing call that she's just taking some time off. It's not like a legit injury that she has to vacate the title and everything, because that was my biggest fear. You know, Proving Ground matches are supposed to, have a little give and take where you need to make me believe that the challenger is going to be able to either last the 10 minutes or pin a champion, which is probably not going to happen, but at least last the 10 minutes. I will say that the next 2 weeks of ROH tapings may have improved my stance on Proving Ground matches, but from what I'm seeing, this was as fun as it was for me personally, because now I'm a huge Viva fan after last night. You already knew Athena wasn't going to lose or get pinned, and Viva was not making the 10 minutes. I enjoyed the Proving Ground matches. I love Athena, but you have to start using them to what they're supposed to be. You need to make me believe, because every time there's a Proving Ground match, you make me a liar because I don't believe in you. You lied to me.
Yeah. We've only had one Proving Ground match in the last couple of weeks that has actually gone the distance where the title then became on the line. And that was with the Undisputed Kingdom.
And I'm pretty sure that was one of, if not the only Proving Ground match ever that's done that. And they did it because they hadn't planned any booking for their champion, so they needed to do something. Which, mind you, at least you used it the right way. But, yeah, I mean, I've already talked every time they have a Proving Ground match about how I feel about Proving Ground matches, because it's a cool concept, but it's a failure in execution. It was a decent showing by Viva Van. I felt like there was enough action in this to actually, consider it a match when you have someone who's not a regular going against the champion. I want Athena to break all the records. She's put in so much work and dedication to this. I want her to break the records for championships in Ring of Honor. It wasn't an overly exciting match for me, though, and the finish felt kind of uninspired.
With you on that one, and to speak to your point about the records, what was brought up on commentary was the only two other ROH champions that have held titles longer are Samoa Joe and AJ Styles. So she's going for those ones. I think it's another couple hundred days, and then she can probably break it at that point. She's held it for 537 days so far. We all wish her luck on that, because that is going to definitely be something we need to see. She has redefined what the women's division is in ROH, and I think she needs to keep holding it until we find someone that can hold that title. But Andrew, I know, as what you just said there, you're such a big fan of this concept. Let's have another one. Let's do another Proving Ground match. This is, again, these are the people that lost the last Proving Ground match. We're going to have the Undisputed Kingdom out there taking on, with the jobber entrance, Nick Comoroto and Jacoby Watts. The storytelling in this, if you want to call it that, I feel is wasteful of a talent who is definitely doing his best to sell an end of it and not getting anywhere near what they need for it. Gentlemen, was comedic Nick Comoroto something that you liked?
Nope. This rated one of my lowest matches. Move on.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with Jacoby and Nick. It, on paper, seems like a good concept, but again, the execution of it is poorly done. I don't know if Jacoby Watts is trying to push Comoroto to the breaking point, so then that way he snaps. But this whole goofy Comoroto and Jacoby Watts never actually wrestling thing just is, it's not working. It's not clicking. Time to change it up a little bit. But yeah, this was another Proving Ground match that didn't really mean anything to me.
Yeah.
I feel that they didn't know what they wanted from the storyline, because, again, based on what we're seeing, it doesn't help when you put these two together. Then they're gone for weeks on ROH television, and then you want to bring them back. look, we here at the BC WrestlePod watch a lot of wrestling, so things start to blend together a little bit. But if you're gonna create these new tag teams, factions, like anything, you have to have consistency. And that's my biggest issue with ROH right now in terms of some of the wrestling, definitely the storytelling, and definitely the booking. You have champions that are there who just hold these titles outside of Athena and Billy. And you know what? Because I'm being graceful, the Undisputed Kingdom, rest of your champions have yet to step in here. Like, Kyle Fletcher's about to have a baller match next week against Dalton Castle, and I'm really excited about that. But why is Kyle Fletcher only our Ring of Honor television champion? You literally have a Briscoe brother who has yet to appear on this thing in like weeks. Like, what the actual flip is happening right now? I'm so upset.
I had somebody ask me who the heavyweight champion of ROH was, and I had forgotten that Briscoe had won that. That's how
I
bad
had
it's
to
gone.
think about it as you were talking about it right now. I was like, who the hell? My brain went back to Claudio. That's how long it's been since we've had somebody on that consistent.
And that was the whole reason why everyone wanted him to win, is that it made sense he'd be someone that they would have show up over here. And what's worse is, I mean, as far as I know, he's not showing up in AEW, so he won the title and isn't doing anything.
Mikey, to your point as well, with the problem with booking and all the other things as well, the last 2 weeks that I had watched of ROH as well, you could tell these were saved matches from whatever edit they had done in Daly's Place, in Calgary, and then in Edmonton, that were not storyline focused, but were like, oh, we don't have anything planned, we haven't really recorded much, or something has happened, we need to throw these matches up because we're paying the talent, we got to put it up there. It seemed like this week was a transition away from that to starting to move that way, especially even like last week where we had Daddy Magic Matt Menard as part of a storyline in tag team wrestling as well that kind of worked. But I'm with you on this one. It didn't make sense. The two things I had written down from this that I think I wanted to put to you all is, one, the Camarado chants were actually getting pretty big there for a second. So he's over with the crowd, especially after the Skin the Cat moment that he did, because the guy is humongous in doing it. But the other thing that got me, if you caught the audio as the Undisputed Kingdom were walking in, Matt Taven has one of the best comebacks to a fan that's telling him he sucks and he needs to get out of there. You can barely hear him saying, "Your money's in my pocket, you idiot," as he's walking into the ring. And I'm like, well played, sir. Well played.
The Undisputed Kingdom were so good last night, both in ring and just the shenanigans that went on too. They are so over.
When they're allowed to
ridiculous.
play.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'll go from them, because I also, with the pop from Nick Camarado, he got a pretty big pop. The next match had the biggest pop of the night for the participant, as Serpentico somehow breaks the house down. Like the crowd reaction to Serpentico was ridiculous as he takes on Brady Roberts, and all that was in with Brady was that, oh, he's an actor and he's doing this wrestling thing, and you could tell he's an actor that never made it, and he's basically green. Serpentico did what he could with him, but
hey, he was on big shows like Arrow and Batgirl, Batwoman, whatever the canceled one. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Caprice. There wasn't much to say about this other than Serpentico. No. He bumped like heck for this guy and gave him a really good showing.
I liked Brady Roberts' gear. I liked the color combination that he was doing, but that's my highlight.
All I could watch was one foot. The pad had come out of the sleeve, and so he had this extra tongue of his shoe hanging out of the side. Yeah, this was basically a squash match that just Serpentico went out and won, and
Andrew, don't you know that that's Brady's claim to fame, is his feet do all the talking?
Oh yeah, that makes sense now. I take it back. Match of the night.
Well, aren't we enthusiastic?
We already talked about this at the top. I don't think half of us are enthusiastic about this one.
I was grading papers while I was watching ROH and taking notes as well. And, I blinked and it was over. I was just like, you know what? I got to do my due diligence. Let me go back and watch this so I can be prepared. I regret that decision is where I'm going to leave it.
You wasted your time twice.
Very upset.
Oy. All right, so speaking of being upset, after the great video promo last week, where we set up, other than my critique of the fact that like she stole a child and took him somewhere to a fight club, Marina Shafir had a great promo. I gotta ask, did she go to Roddy and say, hey, what's been working for you on AEW? Can I copy it wholesale and not be able to deliver scripted lines?
As soon as she said, because I said so, I'm out. I'm done. This did not work for me. I liked the idea of what they were trying to do with the promo of let me justify why I'm calling myself the problem now, because the problem gets worse if you don't take care of it. Blah, blah. Okay, go with that. Don't start it with because I said so.
Don't start it with ask me why I'm the problem.
And the answer to that is because I said so. But this was... Moving on. I was so disappointed.
Yeah, they need to just stick with these video packages like they had and let her do the rest of her talking in the ring. I'm still super excited for what the package that she had last week. I'm excited for where they're going with this, and I think she could be a super interesting and dominant, addition to all the women's divisions. I've been a fan of Marina Shafir since, she was a fighter before she even was in NXT. And following them on social media, I love seeing them and their kids. So him being in that promo was super cute. And I like the way that they tied that kind of thing in. So I'm still here for it. But yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, so you're here for a children's fight club then?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
There's a specific role-playing podcast out there where they talk about the ultimate, orphan fight club.
Yep. I know which one you're talking about. That is amazing. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. That
Andrew has just risen up the ranks of one of my favorite peoples.
How can you go higher than number one?
Everyone's my number one in some capacity. See, in execution, this was, as Jesse had said, this was not the greatest promo. However, I also a big fan of Marina, just like Andrew. The other thing that makes me excited is potentially ROH gets its head out of the sand and actually does, correct booking. What I got to see last night makes me excited for Marina and a certain other person that I talked to at the convention. Hopefully they get to feud.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Again, fingers crossed. I'm going to be cautiously optimistic because ROH has given my hopes up from time to time, and I'm still willing to figure that they would. But as far as this promo goes, execution was not the greatest, but I'm just happy to see Marina finally feel more comfortable, even if she's still trying to, girl, look at the camera. It's okay to look at the camera. I'm just like looking at side profile the whole entire time. That was my biggest issue. I'm like, girl, look at the camera. It's okay. You got glasses on. It's fine. Like, full on side profile, not even at an angle.
I was just waiting for her to scream Lexi's name like Roddy does, just because, that obviously worked for her husband. But, yeah.
But I'm excited to see Marina Shafir. I wish she came up with something better, but I'm excited to see more of the problem.
I gotta ask, I know there's a lot of belts in all of AEW at this point, but wouldn't Marina Shafir be a perfect women's pure champion at this point?
Hello? That's what I've been saying!
You might as well give her the pure championship because we haven't seen it in how long?
I know, I forgot we had a pure champion. Just give it to Marina, or you know what? Let that pure championship be an intergender thing. Marina can fight
Josh
dudes
Woods
and
versus
chicks.
Marina Shafir.
Yes, give it to me now. I mean, we've seen it in another promotion on the independents. Give it to me now, you cowards.
Well, we know how Mikey wants to book everything else. We move on to another squash match, which was basically a match to set up an angle, which is the worst type of match I ever want to see at this point. Why do you do it? Just make the angle. That's the point. As Red Velvet takes on Dollar Store Kelly, i.e. Kel. She did very well for what she could, but she could not move around. Like, she seemed to be stop-starting most of the match. And it comes back to this, when your commentary, who are the best in the business, the best Caprice can come up with is, she's tall. Thanks, Caprice. I don't know. I kind of tuned it out for a while. She tried, but it was just kind of whatever. But then Red Velvet selling the shoulder stinger at the end was probably the best part of the match for me.
I was really hoping they were given a little bit more time because it was very stop, start. I wanted to see what Kel could do, and this wasn't a good showing for them. Yeah. I wanted them to get a little bit more time so I could see what both of them could do. Because we've had 2 women's matches on this entire night, and this one went, 2.5, 3 minutes?
Yeah. It was a squash match that set up for Billy to attack. Oh, that was it.
Yes, Billy did attack. With the
Billy's
best
shoes
boots in
are
the business.
awesome.
I was gonna say in the brightest mud stompers that I've ever seen.
Those are awesome.
Oh,
I think it's really hard because when you're trying to set up 2 different women's fights with Athena and Red and then Queen and Billy, kind of makes it hard when you're internationally because we have all learned about the international issues, especially people who have emigrated over here to the United States, and that they are not allowed to leave the country for a certain amount of time, which I was just like, I understand that we needed to continue this storyline, but it makes it really difficult where I get Billy and Athena are a thing, but from a story standpoint, Billy, your issue is with Queen, and you are a minion, and you are taking out Red for Athena. But again, I agree with you, JBL, that I hate matches that are just there to set up an angle, and it's not even a good angle. It's not a good attack afterwards. I'm like, nah. It was what it was. I don't blame the women. I blame whoever decided this was a good idea.
well, it is also with a Canadian crowd. Billy was getting cheered the entire time. Everyone was against Red Velvet.
Is this the same crowd that gave Sky crap the other week too, or is this a different one?
That was
Okay.
Edmonton. This is Calgary.
Okay.
Different part.
I thought during some point in this feud between Athena and Billy versus Red Velvet and Queen, when they had teamed up and then they had gone into this fighting between each other, I thought we had kind of seen a switch where Queen was now going after Athena and Red Velvet was going after the TV title.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
That's what happened the last time when I think Queen saved the jobber that Athena was going after.
Yeah.
This is
So
what
I think they
happens when
kind of
you don't
swapped
have
and Queen got a
consistency.
step up. Yeah.
It's kind of bad that way, but yes, Billy's boots were the highlight of that beatdown,
Reals.
as well as the Billy chants, and her basically black mass is getting better and better week by week.
Mm-hmm.
We'll then move on to another.
Squatch.
I got to watch a man take off 4 layers of clothing to have a 2-second match as Zach Knight takes on Sebastian Wolf. Part of me that was very upset was like, well, if you're going to have him strip, have him put them all back on and give him my money's worth for the time that he's taken from me.
I was like,
Striptease was longer than the
that's
match.
one.
Yeah, it did.
So I'm out.
Yeah. I also don't like the whole Peaky Blinders. Zach, give him back his leather jacket. It looked cooler. He looked more intimidating, and it didn't take him 30 minutes to take it all off.
But they wanted him to be like Sheamus.
Yeah.
Sheamus.
And unfortunately, he came off more like Ridge Hollins. And what was it? Butch?
Ridge Rollins.
Butch.
What was it that they changed? Yeah.
It was Butch. It was Fight Night with Zach Knight, and no thanks. I mean, it just That's then what I felt as we got out of that match as quickly as possible to jump into the next match, which was a 3-way between Aaron Solo, who we haven't seen in a while, Action Andretti by himself, Philly native, Jesse, I don't know if he was brought up a couple times, he's from Philly, something like that, and Big Shotty Lee Johnson, who decided this week was going to get the win.
They lost
last week, got to win this week.
I wasn't surprised he won. This match actually, considering all the stuff we had seen prior, this actually wasn't bad. I actually enjoyed this one somewhat. I have to say, though, there was a lot of times that Aaron Solo was out of position. This was not a great showing for him. I don't know if he's working injured or something, but his timing was not there, and I hope he's okay.
Yeah, there were a few times in this match that it got sloppy, and it wasn't just Aaron Solo. There were a couple times, from all 3 of them, which was really weird because criticisms aside, they're all really athletic and good performers. But it almost felt like they were like, oh, we're so good at this, we don't really have to try. And then halfway through, they're like, oh, we're messing this up. We should like try to get back on our game a little. And it was a decent enough match, but it felt like every other Ring of Honor multi-person match. And I really didn't care who won because it doesn't really seem like it matters for anything.
Andrew, I'd love to ask, though, especially with bringing up the fact that like they had a couple missteps and then tried to overcorrect. Do you feel like they went too far to the other way then, and then that ended up being more missteps because they were so hyped up to try to get back on track? Or was this kind of just like kind of malaise that built into the match?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just across the board. Like, I don't know if it's because none of them ever feel like they lead matches. Like, they feel like they're always kind of like the high spots, the like adding the flavor to whoever they're facing, and then so none of them. It was like a bunch of, you know, the sidekicks, no leading person match, and I think that's a mixture of just how they kind of hold themselves in the ring, but also the fact that there's no story between any of them.
So it was a match of Robins.
Yeah. Hey, there's some good Robins.
They're all good.
We needed the spoiler Robin though at that point basically to like fill it out. That didn't happen.
Give me a good Jason Todd.
I thought that was Aaron Solo.
Hey, maybe pre-Crowbar.
No, that was T-Bar for Dijak. Anyway, Mikey, what did you feel about this too?
Well, first, because I didn't get a chance to, I was disappointed with Zack Knight's match. I was about to say something, and then we're just going to steam right through. Okay, cool, sure, that's fine. Yeah, this was really weird in the sense that normally, even with some minor botches, these three usually are pretty on their A game. I don't know, there was just something in this match that, weirdly enough, they didn't really click with what they were doing, which resulted in a lot of the botches and misses. And I'm just like, what is happening this episode of ROH? I've stepped into Bizarro World, and I'm like, nothing makes sense, which is nothing new, honestly, for ROH half the time when it comes to booking and stories. But usually some of these talents are pretty on their A game, and I don't know. I was just kind of severely disappointed with with pretty much almost everything this whole entire episode. The most exciting thing that happened to me was, later in the evening when we got the announcement of what's happening next week. That's how boring and bad this episode was for me. This match, I was severely disappointed. And again, criticism aside from charisma and character choices, the athletics was also not on par with this, and that made me very sad.
When you do one thing well, and you don't do it well in a match, you have nothing else to fall back on. It's kind of tough. Just like our next group together as well, who do one thing well and seem to not do it tonight as well. We had the Premier Athletes taking on the Bollywood Boys, hometown heroes Bollywood Boys from British Columbia. And the match, as I can describe it in one thing, is can we get them to do their dance in the middle of the ring? That was the story of this match.
I hated it. The only thing that excited me was the ending, and that was it.
I like the Canucks jerseys. That was a nice touch. This was not good, yet I still wrote a note. It was better than I expected because I expected this to be a pile of a dog excrement. Josh Woods is completely lost. They have no idea what to do with him. He just stands there and doesn't talk because Mark Sterling doesn't shut up. Just give him the title while Wheeler recovers. Just do something with him. He's too talented to just stand there in a stable that he clearly doesn't want to be a part of. And I was confused by the infantry coming up for the save. And are we completely aborting that story with the Outrunners? Like, what's going on? Help me understand.
The answer to that question is yes.
Also, commentary was nice enough to inform us that Josh Woods will apparently be looking at the world title because that's what they kept hinting at. So looks like there's
as
no
well
more
as the
use
trios title, because obviously use them as a trio at the same time.
Yeah. I thought it was an actually decent tag match. My thought was this was going to be another squash, and there was much more action in this. I do think Nice and Davari are the right choice of those three to be the tag team, though I would have liked to have seen them actually hit some kind of tag team finisher to end this match. But yeah, the most exciting thing was the infantry coming out to make the save, and honestly, it wasn't the most exciting thing I've seen from the infantry.
My thing is, and I know this for Davari, but also Tony Nese, that both of them have pretty like singular finishing moves for themselves, but they're also submissions experts. So if we got them to do the first like tag team double submission, I would love to see that end a match. Like one's got him on the legs with like a sharpshooter or a cloverleaf. The other's got him in a crossface or something else, and just like bending him like a bow.
I'll tell you after we finish recording about a fun story about that.
It certainly would be unique and interesting and make me want to watch it more.
Maybe. But we transition off that to our main event of the evening. I was actually very excited about this match. On paper, the Workhorsemen versus Top Flight, two differing styles, and especially with the grounded Top Flight more now as they've been working more ground and pound. I was looking forward to this, and for me, it didn't disappoint. I was very happy with what would happen. It was a great back and forth. As I said last week, Andrew, I don't know if you caught, Anthony Henry, breaking your jaw was the best thing that ever happened to you. You found a personality and a reason to be, and it gave you kind of a new lease on things, and having JD Drake support you was great. And Top Flight without Andretti seems to work better as a unit. What did you all think of this as our main event?
This was my match of the night. I wanted the Workhorsemen to win, but I still wasn't upset with the outcome. JD Drake definitely did a Claymore. I don't know if he slipped when he was going for a boot, but definitely turned into a Claymore. And it didn't look bad. But I think the best line of the entire night was when Riccaboni called JD Drake. He's like a southern fried Big Van Vader.
I mean, Vader was from the the Black Hills, but still, like,
I thought it was a great tag match. It gives me hope with these two teams. We have some phenomenal tag teams in Ring of Honor, and for a while we were getting to see them, even without the titles ever being around, getting to see them actually excel in those divisions. I would say it's probably the most well-rounded men's division in Ring of Honor. And so I thought it was good. I hope we can actually build that division along with other ones up to actually get to see more titles instead of just proving ground matches. And again, props in AEW. The one thing that had me concerned was after this, it looked like Dante might have been injured. He was laying down on the canvas, and Andretti and Darius came in, and they were checking on him, and then he kind of was like, no, I'm okay. And then when they got up and celebrated, he like was holding his back, and then once they lifted their hands up, he kind of went over to the corner and like lowered himself back down again. So just with the history of Top Flight stuff, I'm really hoping he's not injured and it's just more of like a hard bump or something. But yeah, it's obviously it's not saying much compared to the rest of the night, but this was definitely my match of the night as well.
It looked like he may have tweaked his knee somewhere in the middle there. But as I'm watching him, I was just thinking, wouldn't it be a great match to see Dante versus Ricochet?
Dante versus Will Ospreay. We can actually have that happen, which would be amazing. Okay. Also, just in the line of if JD Drake did do a Claymore, would they call that a bunker buster instead?
Yeah.
My
Moab.
Daisy cutter.
Okay.
We're waiting for you, Mikey.
Okay. I was,
John, let him talk.
Mikey.
Jesse, would you let Mikey talk, please?
As I hide from crying uncontrollably.
I guess we're moving on to our empanada ratings. No, I'm just kidding.
Nah, it's fine. You can move on to the empanada ratings. There's nothing I can add that hasn't already been said.
Oh, come on, Mikey.
No, I'm not coming out of my corner of shame.
I want to ask you about this, Mikey. There was a point in this match where it was a double team move by the Workhorseman where JD Drake's on the ground. He's got Dante, I believe, in between his legs, like with his face down, and then Henry comes up and just double stomps him brutally. Like, is this like, can that be the new finisher at that point? I don't know why that wasn't their finishing move.
Spoiler alert, that is their new finisher because, I mean, it's already been advertised on social media, so it's not a spoiler. Workhorsemen are going to be on Collision this Saturday, and they use that as one of the many finishers they had against their opponents, again, which is advertised. That was probably one of the highlight moments of the whole entire evening. Workhorsemen versus Shibata and Garcia.
Ooh, that's a good match.
I'm going to talk about all that afterwards, but as far as this match goes, I really enjoyed it. I also am in the same camp that this, unfortunately, by default, is my favorite match of the whole entire evening, because everything else was just meh. But I love the Workhorsemen. I'm happy to see them back, despite all of the shenanigans that went on with Anthony Henry being fired, but then not really, and then all that stuff with his broken jaw. And poor JD trying to keep afloat while as a single star, but not being booked properly. And they also attempted to change his look, which I was very upset about, but glad that he is back to being himself. I thought this was a lot of fun. And again, Dante seems to be doing okay because boy was hopping around like a pinball last night during the ROH taping. So I think it was just a minor tweak. Off camera, though, I have a scary story that happened at the event live where I thought I thought the X was coming out.
Well, we'll get that afterwards. Maybe that'll be a Patreon exclusive if we record it. But for now, that's great. So, gentlemen, that was our match of the night. We got through ROH. It was a meh overall. I know it's a formality, but I'd love to hear your empanada scale. Jesse, then Andrew, and then Mikey. What'd you feel about the evening?
I gave it a 5.5 empanadas. It could have been so much better. I would have appreciated more women's anything on there. A match, a vignette, something.
Yeah, I give it a 5.5 as well. It was a D for me. It really, you said it earlier, Ring of Honor is really starting to feel like a collection of matches that would be fillers between story matches on the main card. It's basically we're getting all the stuff they just cut out of the main show. It was a pretty slow show, not super exciting, but it did end well. So I guess that's one thing for it.
As on a scale of 0 to 10, I get this episode for white noise as 10. It was great background white noise. As an actual episode, I have to give this a 4.5 because it was very uninspired. It was boring. Normally the in-ring is pretty good, even for the squash matches, but there was a lot that was not clicking. Just don't go back to Canada. Like, give them a break for like a couple of months and then go back, because I also am very superstitious. Like, when you visit a certain wrestling country or a wrestling city far too often, I am very superstitious. It just starts to mess with the talent. And this was very evident because Ring of Honor, AEW love to go to Canada, but yeah, this was a 4.5 for me.
For me, this was a 4. It had a good opening match, it had a good ending match, and honestly, it just existed.
How did I have the highest rating out of anyone?
Because you don't like fun.
No, you and I had the same.
Okay.
We both had 5.5.
You did. That's right. You both did. So,
Andrew, let him
Mikey
talk,
and I
would
are
you?
on the low end. Either way, the fact of the matter being that with the filler matches and all those things, it just, I has seen Matt Menard being able to bring storytelling to the tag team division last week. I was so jazzed to see where they would go with this, and nothing. And you were building to such a better place. It makes me upset. So I can't recommend it to you. I can't recommend it to anybody else. Gentlemen, any final thoughts or anything else? Because it's been so nice to actually be here with you for once, and I was actually excited to hear what you wanted to say tonight.
I'm just going to say, in 2 weeks, I thoroughly enjoyed the matches we got for ROH, but also for you three, and if we could make it work, we're going to have a special guest in 2 weeks for ROH. Maybe pop in for a couple minutes. Or maybe the whole episode. I'll talk to her and see.
Billy Starks?
Yeah, right.
Nah, Billy is booked and blessed right now. though I wouldn't be opposed to see if, everything worked out. We could talk to Billy a little bit more. But honestly,
well,
we'll talk
Jesse
after.
does.
Yeah, it would be fantastic. But no. So in about 2 weeks or whenever the episode for ROH airs that was taped last night, we're definitely going to have a special guest in some capacity. So I'm super excited.
Sweet.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for joining us on the Bro. Gentlemen, we didn't do it at the beginning. We're going to put it in as heels now. Our hands are in. Thank you for adhering to the Code of Honor. As usual, thank you for joining us and hearing our opinions on this. These are all our opinions. We all are not part of the wrestling industry. We are just fans, but we watch enough of it that we kind of get these things as we're going, and we hope that it helps inform you about what you should watch and what you can watch. But in general, just remember, as always, come back here, join us, sit with us, and have fun, because we're all Bi-Conic here at the BC WrestlePod fam. And we'll see you in the next video.
It's really interesting getting to be at an ROH taping live because
this is all he ever talks about anymore.
Because I am better than you, and you know it. I'm just kidding.
You just paid money for it, MJF.
Can you drive a Jeep?
Damn.
I'm pretty sure he's vegan, too.
Maybe. At least I'm not juiced up like a certain MJF, allegedly. But anyways.
Thank you from the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another Vibe Tribe production. What's going to happen next time? Well, you're going to have to tune in to find out. But until then, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and as always, make sure that you keep the good times rolling. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.